Welcome to the GoVenture Any Business training video. GoVenture Any Business is an educational business simulation where you run a company on your own as CEO or on a team as a senior executive. To build a successful business, you must manufacture and market a product line while competing with other businesses. In the next number of minutes, we're going to review all of the screens to allow you to become familiar with playing GoVenture Any Business. Once you've created an account on the GoVenture Any Business system, you must then join a business simulation competition. You need a simulation number in order to join a competition. I've created an automotive simulation for demonstration purposes. Let's join that simulation. You can see the simulation number and the name of the simulation. You can also see that I have to choose a company name and logo and who my competitors are. So the example I'm showing you is that of an automotive simulation. Let's start by looking at the main interface. Along the top is the progress window. On the right-hand side is some important information. First, I can see in my simulation that I'm currently in month 5 of 12. So the simulation advances in periods. In my case, it runs by month, and I'm currently in month 5 of 12. Usually, of course, you're going to start in first period. And in the bottom right of that window, it says Decision Deadline Manual, which means I can manually advance the simulation itself. You might have a Go button in the lower right corner of your screen, which allows you to advance the simulation manually. In the lower right is our simulation menu. Here we can access our help, which is our user guide. We can quit the simulation, and we can save our decisions. In the orange area is our business menu. And these are the various areas of our business. And by clicking each section, we can manage a different area of our business. We'll quickly go through each of these. So right now we're on the company screen. And you'll notice right above the company button, we'll see some help. And it's just a sentence or two that gives us some directions about what we should do on this particular screen. And we can see in the main area of the simulation interface, there's two boxes. There's a company name and logo box. Here's where we have to enter our company name, and we can choose a logo. On the right are our management team and objectives. So again, it's our information as the managers of this particular business. And there's a backstory here that's useful in helping setting up what my objectives are as a manager of this particular business. Let's move on to the management screen. And the way the simulation works is that you're assigned a certain budget every period, and you have to determine how you're going to allocate that budget. So in my case, I can see that I have a budget of a certain amount of money, that some of it has already been allocated in terms of operation costs and so on. But as I go through each of these areas of my business and I allocate money, I will see it identified on this screen. I can't go over my budget, and the system won't allow me to do that. Also on the screen, we can see that there's a few other options. There's a strategy journal, and the strategy journal is a great way to write down our thoughts and our thinking in terms of why we're making certain decisions. There's a what-if calculator, and that allows you to do some what-if scenarios, entering some numbers, see what kind of profitability you might be able to reach. There's an ethics slider, and the ethics slider allows you to choose how ethically you want to run your business. So if you want to run a business that is strong ethically, it will cost you more to operate that business, but there may be some longer term benefits. If you're ever unsure of some of these options, see these little orange help buttons. So let's look at the product manufacturing screen. Now here we have a couple of important decisions to make. The first is pricing. What price are our consumers going to pay for our products? And that's called the retail selling price. And we can enter whatever price we like in this box. Now, in some simulation competitions, like as is the case with mine, you'll see that there's some type of discount associated with it, a reseller discount. In my case, it's a dealer discount. And so that means that the distributor or the reseller is getting 30% of that retail selling price because I'm selling the product to them at a discount. So my revenue per unit is not the actual retail selling price, it's the retail selling price minus the dealer discount. There's no preset price in the simulation that customers expect to pay. So let's say you live in a country where the average car is $25,000. That doesn't necessarily mean that in this simulation, the average price of a car should be $25,000. The simulation is completely driven by supply and demand, which is based on what your competitors are doing. So if your competitors are offering cars much more expensive than that, or much less expensive than that, better quality, poorer quality, whatever combination that may be, the price will fluctuate accordingly. So on the manufacturing and distribution box, I have to decide how many units of product I have to manufacture. So now I'm at the beginning of my month, My period is a month. So I'm at the beginning of that month, and I have to determine or forecast how many sales I think I'm going to make of cars, and then try to manufacture exactly that many cars. I want exactly that many because if I manufacture too many, I might have an inventory carrying cost for carrying that car as it might depreciate, or just the cost of carrying it over an extra month trying to sell it the next month. And also, of course, if you over manufacture, it ties up a lot of your cash flow, so you don't want to do that. Similarly, you don't want to under manufacture. In other words, you don't want to manufacture insufficient number of units because then you're going to lose sales. So forecasting is very challenging, but it's an important part of business. When you're forecasting manufacturing, notice also that there's some additional potential costs. There's the cost of manufacturing the item, the cost of transporting that item. In my case, because it's cars, I also have some recurring costs in terms of trying to maintain a safety rating for my cars, and so on. Altogether, that'll give me my total unit cost, and then I can enter how many units I want to manufacture and see my total manufacturing cost. And then under that, I can see the details about expiration and carrying costs, and so on. The next screen is my product research and development, or R&D. Now, again, every simulation is going to be different here, but in my case, I can differentiate my product by investing in R&D. By differentiating my product, I can attract specific consumers that may be looking for that type of product. In most cases, I'm not going to be able to invest in all four of these things to be the best at them compared to my competitors. Generally, what's going to happen is some competitors are going to be better at some things versus others. And you need to decide what your strategy is in terms of differentiating your product. Are you going to focus on mileage? Are you going to focus on safety rating? Are you going to try to balance it out between the two? What type of customers are you going to chase after? And so you will have these decisions to make. And again, use the question mark help buttons to find out more about each feature to make you more informed in making your decisions. Let's move on to the sales and marketing screen. Here in sales and marketing, there's three types of marketing that we can do. We can do product line and brand advertising. There is sales promotion. We also have price discount advertising, where maybe we can discount our prices for a certain period of time and attract buyers that might otherwise not consider us. Brand equity is comprised of brand awareness, which means how many people are aware of your brand. And then there's also brand loyalty. Now, in the simulation, we have a map of 3 different territories. And again, your simulation may only have one of these 3 territories enabled, or it might have all 3. And initially, we're in the top territory, and what I have to decide now is how much I'm going to invest in each of these territories. So what I would do here is I would enter numbers of how much I want to invest in each of the 3 areas that I have here. Now, the other option I have here is advertising. Again, so in advertising, I can identify specifically where my money is going to go in 10 different types of media channels. So whether it's television or newspaper or direct mail, and I can identify the percentage of my money that's going to go to each of these areas. And what's very important here is that I understand the consumer demographics in terms of what is the best way to reach the consumers in this particular territory. And of the 3 territories, all the consumers may be very different. They may want different types of products, they may have different price sensitivity, and they may have different ways of reaching them through advertising methods. So it's important for me to try to figure out what those best and most effective ways are. I can read a little bit about it here, but I can also maybe go buy some market research reports and discover some additional information. And I can see some feedback here once a simulation starts to run in terms of my average advertising effectiveness. So that's sales, marketing, and advertising in the various territories. Let's move on to human resources. And the human resources area is where I manage my employees. Now, this is very high-level human resources. This is more managing 5 key departments, and you'll see there's 5 departments listed along the left-hand side. There's R&D, MF for manufacturing, SM for sales and marketing, OP for operations, and MG for management. So you have 5 groups of people within your company that you need to manage. And what you're monitoring is a number of things which all culminate into an HR score. That's your overall score of how you're managing your people. And again, you can click the question mark for additional details on that. But to give you a quick overview, morale, in other words, how happy are employees working in your company. Productivity is what kind of output are your employees able to generate. And you want, of course, high morale, you want high productivity. Turnover, you want low turnover. Turnover is how quickly or what percentage of your employees are leaving your company every period. And again, in my case, a period is a month. So you want a very low turnover because high turnover costs your company money in terms of rehiring people, lost productivity, and so on. And you can see the turnover costs are listed there as well. And you can invest in your employees in terms of helping improve their morale and productivity and lower turnover. And the bottom box, where it says number of employees, compensation, and training, this is where I actually make those decisions. So in one of the columns I can see how many employees are needed to run my business. And what I can do now is I can match those number of employees that I need. How many are needed are determined by a number of variables. One is the minimum number of employees generally needed to operate a business of my type. And the second is how much I'm investing in all areas of my business. And the system will automatically update the number of employees needed based on the investments I'm making, and I have to match that. And what I can do is I can decide to hire or fire employees by clicking the buttons that are here. What's very important to recognize about hiring and firing employees is that there's a cost associated with it. When you fire someone, there's usually a severance cost associated with disconnecting with that employee. When you hire someone, there's usually a hiring cost and an introductory level job training cost to get that person up to speed. When the simulations start, there'll be an average salary that's set, but all of the players that I'm competing with, the other businesses, they can set whatever salaries they want. And by the way, the salary you're looking at here is by period. And so in my case, this is the monthly salary of the average employees. What I can actually do is buy market research later on, once the simulation begins, to compare myself and my salaries to that of the other players I'm competing with. And that's very important because if I'm offering a lower compensation package in terms of salary and benefits than my competitors, then my turnover might be higher than theirs are because my employees are moving to my competitors. Finally, we have a benefit screen. And what you see here are different benefits that you can choose to offer your employees. The percentage numbers you see, that's the cost on a salary basis. So if something costs 5%, that means it costs 5% of salary. So you take your base salary that you're offering them and you add 5%, which then gives you this particular benefit that you want to offer. And again, you can buy some market research, some survey information to determine what that might be. And you can just check the benefits on or off of the ones that you want to provide. Customers and Competitors provides access to a variety of market research reports. These reports, you may or may not have to purchase them. They're very valuable. They can be very useful in making good decisions. Once you buy it, it'll appear in the available reports window, and it will always be there, and you can click on it to access it. What's important to recognize, though, is if you buy a report in the current period, you will still be able to access that report in the future, but the data won't be updated. It'll be for the period from which you originally purchased it. So if you want to get new data, you're going to have to repurchase that same report. You'll also see a sales results button here. Every time the simulation advances, you'll go into a sales report animation that shows how you're doing compared to other competitors in that particular period. The final button is our finance area, and here we can see all sorts of financial reports about our business, from balance sheet to profit and loss statements, profits charts, cash charts, and so on. All of the reports on this particular screen, the finance area, are all free. They're available to you. Most of them tend to be specific to your business. Every time you click a link, you're getting the latest data. It's automatically updated here. Two other things that you can do here is loans and stock, which means you can request a loan, which is a debt-based financing, or you can issue stock, which is equity-based financing, so you can raise additional money. At the beginning of every period, you're given a certain budget that you can spend. If you want more money beyond that budget, you can consider taking out a loan or issuing new stock. If you take out a loan, you'll have to repay it based on certain terms. When you follow the instructions in the system, it'll explain all this for you. When you issue stock, you're actually selling a portion of your business, and you're automatically getting a share price as well, and your share price will fluctuate up and down based on your earnings. Once you've made all of your decisions, the next thing you need to do is go to the Save area. Click the Save button, and it'll save your decisions, and now you're good to go. Now log out, quit the simulation, come back to it a few hours later or the next day, change your decisions if you want, and save them again. As long as the decision deadline hasn't been reached, you can save as often as you like. Now the last item on the interface is the smartphone. The smartphone has 4 functions, and you can see the 4 buttons at the bottom. The first is Performance Report, the second is your budget, the third is News, and the fourth is Messaging. The performance area, and you can see a summary of how I'm doing compared to the other top 3 businesses that I'm competing with. I can also see my actual score, and my score is based on net profit. And you can see that in the company screen, how you're being rated, and you can also click on the help button here in the performance report to find out more about that. You can click the performance report button and it'll give you a very detailed report and a score and a rating of how you're doing with all sorts of charts and graphs. The budget area just gives you a quick rundown of what your available budget is for the current period and where you've been spending it. The third is news, and here you can actually see news reports that are happening in the simulation. The final thing that you'll see on the smartphone is your virtual management team. And you actually have 4 senior managers that are helping you run your business. You have a VP of Finance, a VP of Operations, a VP of Products, and a VP of Marketing. And as you click each area of the business at the bottom, what you'll see is on the smartphone is that the person will change. And what you can do is you can actually call them for advice. And if I click to call for advice, I can ask for general business advice, or I can ask for specific business advice to analyze how I'm doing in the simulation versus my competitors.